my channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm Messy Jessie and you're watching. Welcome to the mid-year book freakout tag. I have a lot of books here to talk about. I have a lot of thoughts to share. I'm so excited to be filming what is always my favorite tag of each and every year. I'm a big fan of keeping track of my reading journey and updating with myself and checking in with myself about our goals and what we're up to. And so this tag is a really easy and fun, accessible way to do that. And I love that I get to share it with y'all. But before we hop in to the tag, I want to give a big shout out and a warm hug to the sponsor of today's video, which is none other than Book of the Month. Book of the Month is this rapidly growing e-commerce subscription box where every single month they scour all of the newest releases, the hottest and the most promising, and they pick 5 of them. They do the work of researching new releases so that y'all don't have to. They put those 5 up on their website. You choose the one that is calling to your little heart's desire, and that book shows up on your doorstep in a bright blue box. Honestly, for those of us who are busy and also those of us who are easily overwhelmed.
Hi, my name is Jessie.
Book of the Month is a really great way to stay in the know about what is coming out without having to do that work yourself. They always have books of different genres featured. Some are debut authors, some are repeat authors. They center different types of experiences, and there is usually at least one book that I haven't heard of. But if you are just not in a reading mood, or you just know that you simply don't have the time to devote to reading your Book of the Month selection, you can simply halt your subscription at any point in time without any penalties to you, and then just resume it whenever at your own convenience, which is dope. They're a risk-free service, and I love that for them, and most importantly, I love that for us. Of course, my favorite thing about Book of the Month, in addition to the fact that some of the books that they're sending you aren't even out yet, they will send you beautiful hardcover copies for only $14.99. I've said it before, I will say it again, and I don't really need to because I know y'all know how much hardcovers cost, and I have never seen a hardcover, especially a new release, retail for $14.99. What are you waiting for? I don't know. I don't know if you're waiting on the world to change, but you should sign up. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a really big fan of saving my coin. So Book of the Month is where it's at. And before we hop into the video, I'm just going to show off the Book of the Month selections for this month, the month of June, and tell you which would have been my own pick. So I'm actually gonna let y'all guess. I'm gonna let y'all guess which of these 5 books would have been my personal pick. The first one is Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon, who is just BookTube's darling author, right? And an author that I have not read. I have not read The Sun Is Also a Star because I'm a fake reader, and I'm very, very excited for this really cute YA romance. Then we have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. For those of you who are somehow not in the know about Alex Michaelides, he is the incredible author of The Silent Patient, this Greek mythology psychological thriller that just took the whole world by storm, myself included. And this is the long-awaited sophomore novel from this author. It is a book about obsession and a Greek professor who is a murderer, dark academia, which y'all know is all the rage right now. And I have been waiting for this book ever since the last page of The Silent Patient. And we have Malibu Rising, the latest book of beloved Taylor Jenkins Reid. Y'all know that Taylor Jenkins Reid is just a queen of historical fiction, and I'm a big historical fiction fan. So this book is set in the 80s in Malibu and centers the lives of surfers. I have always wanted to learn how to surf, so I'm very excited to dive into this world. We also have Half Sick of Shadows. This is a book that I had not heard of. I had no idea this book was coming out. And anytime I see someone wielding a sword on a book cover, I'm as good as there. This book is set on the mystical Isle of Avalon, and it centers Arthurian legend and mythology, and it is about a young girl coming into herself and her power, and I'm ready to see it. Last but very much not the least, we have Sky Falling, another book that I have not heard of. It is supposed to be a very intense but also funny story about a woman who was strapped for cash. She sold her eggs, and 12 years later, one of the eggs shows up, is now a fully formed 12-year-old girl, and is like, hi. It promises complexities of family, race, and queerness. I couldn't be more excited about it. So if you didn't already guess, my personal Book of the Month pick would have been The Maidens. If you are intrigued by this service, if you don't want to miss out, definitely use my code BOWTIES, where you can get your very first box for only $9.99. So you're saving even more money off that $14.99 price. I really think you should go for it. Like I said, I'm a really big fan of Book of the Month, and I want to thank them for sponsoring this video. I am so excited. I know y'all can't see, but I'm just surrounded by the books I'm going to talk about, and I'm very, very geeked. Ignore this stack. I have to film a book haul for y'all very, very soon. I have like over 60 books here in this haul, so you're getting a sneak peek at some of them. And so I'm going to film it tomorrow. I promise. I'm going to film my book haul tomorrow. So the first question in this tag, we're getting right into the tea, is your favorite book that you have read in 2021. I have been saying this entire year, I've been saying, yo, there's this book. Nothing is going to top it. It's amazing. I belong to this book. It's so good. And then my favorite author dropped their memoir, which I have been waiting 3 years for. I have been waiting 3 years for LAKEY and Macy to drop their memoir. And they dropped the memoir, and I'm telling you, I cannot remember the name of that book I have been raving about. I was trying for the last half hour, but while I was getting ready to film this video, I was like, what was the name of that book that I have been begging people to read? I literally can't remember. Dear Senthron bled that book from my mind. It doesn't even exist for me anymore. I don't even care what it was. This is a memoir from the beast, the god, the deity, the entity that is LAKEY and Macy. And in Dear Senthron, they are composing letters to their friends and family and ex-lovers. It is a lifetime told through letters, and it is beautiful. It is inspiring. It is vicious. It is domineering. It is bloody and messy and honest and raw, and it's everything. It's absolutely everything. This book changed my life in a very similar way to Freshwater when I read it, and I know that I'm never going to be the same again. I carry this book around with me. It is in my bag at all times, and when I go to sleep, it's by my bed. I'm not even kidding. Like, I've sent pictures to some of my friends being like, good night, we're going to sleep. You know, this book means a lot to me. It is a memoir of Black spirit. It is about LAKEY coming to realize who and what they are, Ipo belief systems, Ipo ontology, and the reality of being an Obanje in today's world. Next question is the best sequel that you've read so far, and I am a fake fantasy reader because I actually have not read very many sequels in 2021 this year. I tend to go through like phases with my reading, and my fantasy reads, I feel, tend to be more autumnal and wintry. Do with that what you will. So earlier half of the year, I tend to focus on contemporaries and more lighthearted reads and historical fiction. I don't know why. That's just how it always seems to happen every year. It's not something that I do intentionally. But the standout sequel for me at this point in the year is A Dark Queen Rises by Ashok Banka. I don't know why I said banker that way. This is a South Asian fantasy set in the Burnt Empire, and the story revolves around two disabled brothers who are on a quest to become king. It is about the lives of the people attached to them. It is about great sages, and the villain of the story is the great evil god emperor named Jarsan, who has incredible abilities. I mean, it is lush and vibrant and bold. I have a dedicated review, spoiler free, of this book and the first book, which is Upon a Burning Throne. I will leave that link down below. But as always, be sure to check out reviews from South Asian authors and writers and readers. I don't know why.
Okay, you're doing great, Jessie.
Pregunta número 3 is a book that you haven't read, that you want to read, that's a new release. And of course, it's The Maidens. This book has been calling to me.
I might start it tonight.
I also am dying and burning to read Reaper of Souls. I want to reread Kingdom of Souls. That's what Starla did. Starla is a huge fan of this series. And I was absolutely in love with the first book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I think I will get so much more out of it upon my reread. The copy that I had of the first book is an ARC. and the publisher just sent me the finished copies of both Reaper and Kingdom. So I'm definitely gonna do a joint reread and most likely film my experience in a Black Girl Magic vlog. I haven't done one of those for y'all in a bit, and I need to get back on my Black Girl Magic-ish. They'll need to call me out for not making enough of those Black Girl Magic videos, okay? Then we have most anticipated release for the latter half of the year. And honestly, this wasn't even a question for me.
Dying.
I'm dying to read Redemptor, the sequel to Raybearer. This book is the only book that has ever made me weep tears of joy. I was not expecting that from a YA fantasy. I was not expecting to have all these soft, gooey feelings, which is just not me as a person at all. And this is a story about a young girl who was raised in isolation by her mother, her powerful mother that she calls the Lady. And the Lady kind of raises her to get close to the prince and eventually assassinate him. And she is compelled by dark magic to execute this task. And as she goes into the palace and trains to become one of the prince's council of 11 most trusted advisees who, you know, they all grew up together and then they serve for life. She comes to love him, and it's about her found family and how she comes to love deeply the prince and the council of 11. And for the first time in her life, she has people who love her back. It is a story about belonging. It is whimsical writing. The world building is lush and aggressive though. It's great, and I can't wait to read the sequel. I can't wait to see Sanjit again. Sanjit is my favorite character. I loved him. He actually was the reason that I ended up weeping tears of joy. 5 out of 5 stars. And sadly, we've arrived at
the biggest disappointment.
Other than me being the biggest disappointment to my family, I am going to say that my biggest disappointment of 2021 has been My Lovely Wife. And the reason that this is my biggest disappointment was it's really y'all. Like, this is y'all's fault. I would not have been thus disappointed, so deeply disappointed, if it wasn't for y'all saying that the sun rose and set on this boring, predictable, lackluster character having-ish thriller. Okay, it was too long. And look, I like my thrillers long. The first page that I opened to said, "You made me sick," she says. Yes, you made me sick. You made me sick. I don't want to talk about it anymore. The book sucked, okay? Those of you who don't know, who are blissfully not in the know about My Lovely Wife, it is a book about a couple who's bored in their marriage, and so they start killing people. And it's not good. The next question on the tag is, what has been your biggest surprise of 2021? And that book is going to be Dream Country by Shannon Gibney. This is the story of a young Liberian refugee, a young boy who gets into trouble for fighting at school and is promptly sent back home to Liberia by his parents, who want him to be straightened out and to reconnect with his Liberian values. And at that point, once he is, shipped off to his homeland, it becomes kind of an ancestral telling as well. And you are oscillating between 17-year-old Colley's perspective, who is the boy that we are following in the beginning, and a few of his ancestors. And then all of those stories are slowly braided and weaved together by the end of this novel. And it culminates in just this beautiful, painful, just story that will rip your heart from your chest. As I was reading this book, I was thinking, okay, 3.5, 4 star. For the majority of this novel, I was like, it's good, but it's not gonna be a new fave. It doesn't have that oomph that I want my new favorite novels to have, or my 5-star reads to have. And that last chapter, it changed everything. That last chapter was one of those that took the book and turned it on its head, and it changed your whole perspective on everything that you had read. I talked about this book in a series that I've started on my channel called BookTube is Sleeping on These Books, where I put on pajamas and I talk about all the books that y'all aren't reading, but you should be reading. So I will leave that in the description box below, or in a card floating around up here. I would love it if y'all checked out that series, because I talk about mainly queer BIPOC books in those videos. And I'm gonna have another one out for y'all very soon, because I think that you really enjoy it. And I read a bunch of books that y'all are sleeping on that I really want to make sure you read. That was a big surprise. It was a surprise because I was not expecting it to become not only a 5-star read, but one of my new favorite reads, and for this author to become an instantly readable author. So 5 out of 5 stars, biggest surprise of the year, hands down. Then we have a favorite new crush, and I don't have one of those. I'm dead inside. And ace. So let's move on. Newest favorite character. This I can answer. And I didn't even need to think about it. My newest favorite character is Hilo from Jade City. And every time I say that, I feel like I betray Elliot of Elliot Brooks. I love you, Elliot! But you don't see his magic. You don't know him like I do. You don't know him like I do. I love Hilo. I love his development, but I also love that he's true to the core of who he is. I like him. He's braggadocious, he's intelligent, but he is emotionally driven. He cares about his family. He cares about his people and his community, and he can be a strategic thinker when he forces himself, when he needs to be. And he's also just a great fighter, and he knows his limits, but he pushes himself. I really like him, and I just have a riot reading him. I enjoy him. I want to be his best friend. I've said this so many times. I want to be this man's friend so bad. I'm currently reading the sequel, Jade War, and I have a feeling that Jade War might overtake Dark Queen Rises as my, new favorite sequel of 2021 thus far. We shall see. It's going to be hard to beat Dark Queen Rises because Dark Queen Rises was 10,000 times better than Upon a Burning Throne. And Upon a Burning Throne was pretty good, but it does not hold a candle to A Dark Queen Rises. Next up, we have a book that made you cry, and The Last Story of Mina Lee. This was a book of the month pick from last year, and it was one of my anticipated releases, and I just never got around to reading it because I belong in a garbage can. That's where I was born, and that's probably where I should have stayed. It's a book about a Korean American girl who finds her mother dead in her apartment. Her mother was a Korean war orphan and wouldn't talk about the past. Because Margot, the daughter, was raised in America, there's a huge language barrier between her and her mother, and they've never gotten along. They've never seen eye to eye. And it is only once Mina, the mother, dies or is killed, because you're not sure if she died under nefarious circumstances or innocent circumstances. It's only until the death of this mother that Margot goes on a mission to pursue justice for her mother, and in the pursuit of that justice, coming to terms with why her mother was the way that she was and the nature of their relationship, and most importantly, discovering her mother. This book ripped my heart out of my chest. It was so good. It's one of my new favorites. I want you to go into it knowing just as little as possible. It's a beautiful, special, gorgeous book, and it will always be one that I will want to revisit. The next question is a book that made you happy, and this is going to be Marvelous Mirza Girls, which I filmed a dedicated review. I have not posted it yet, but I will soon. You will see that review from me this month, and I am so freaking excited to talk about this. I'm also going to be talking about this in a Books That BookTube is Sleeping On video. This is a young adult new adult contemporary about a mother and a daughter who go to India after their aunt/sister dies of cancer, goes to India to do the things that they know that their aunt/sister would have wanted them to do, would have wanted to do herself. And so they're discovering their roots, their homeland, and they're both falling in love. They have this riotous relationship. It is one of the funniest books, just casually funny, quirky books that I've ever read. And it tackles so many things. It tackles feminism and having unconventional relationships with your mother. It's in a mixed media format because the daughter, Noreen, is a writer of scripts. And so sometimes she kind of narrates what is going on in her life in script form. It is so good. I will get into much more detail about this book in my dedicated review, but I'm just telling you, it's really funny, and I was overjoyed while reading this book. This is a book that you should read if you are feeling low, but also it's got some really good meat to it. It's not just a fluffy story. It is so good. And next up, we have the most beautiful book that you have bought or received in 2021. And without question, that is going to be Glory, which was sent to me by one of y'all beautiful individuals. And if you were the one who sent me Glory, please comment down below with your name so that I can write it on the inside of this book. I always save who sends me books, and I will put their name on the inside of the book. I lost the Amazon slip that, you sent when you sent me this book, and I'm really sad because I would love to thank you formally and, make sure that I can always remember that you were the one who gave me this book. So if that was you and you're seeing this, please comment down below. But this is a book that is about magical visions of Black beauty, and it is just portraiture of Black folks in steampunk and African-inspired dress and just lush, vibrant, beautiful hairstyles. It is simply just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Now, just look at this precious pumpkin. Oh my gosh. Protect them at all costs. Just sweet and stunning and inspiring, and it's just a celebration of Blackness and beauty. And I love that you have Black folks of all skin colors. You have different styles of presentation. It's just Then we have what books you need to read by the end of the year. I really want to read Goblin by Josh Malerman. This is supposed to be a novel in 6 novellas, so all of the stories seem separate, but they culminate at the end to create one narrative, I believe. One of my resolutions was to start reading Sanderson, and I found this copy of Starsight being given away in my neighborhood, so I need to get my hands on Skyward and read that. I also really want to get into the Ship of Magic series by Robin Hobb. There's so many fantasy books that I want to get to later on in the year. The final question is your favorite book to movie adaptation that you've seen this year, and I have not watched any. So if there are any recent book to movie adaptations that you think that I would like, please comment down below. Let me know so that I can check them out. And that is going to do it for this tag. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, please let me know by commenting down below and dropping a party emoji of some sort, just some sort of celebratory emoji, because at this point we are celebrating hitting the halfway point in the year, and I think that that's a beautiful thing. We have made it this far in the year. We have lived another 6 months, and I think that that's something worth celebrating. Don't forget to celebrate yourselves and how much you matter at every chance that you get, because there is nothing braggadocious or selfish about doing that. And do not forget to check out Book of the Month. I will leave a link down below, and you can get your first box for only $9.99. You can use my code BOWTIES. It's a great deal. Don't miss out. Thank you so much for watching another Bowties and Books production. If you want more content from me, you can follow me on my Instagram, which is bowtiesandbooks, but all of my social media links will be in the description box below. Until next time, stay safe, wear your mask, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.